A very good evening to all of you from Mumbai, India. It's a pleasure and honor on behalf of the Hinduja Foundation to welcome you all to Healing Notes, exploring connections between music and mental health. Music, the 7 notes, apart from being a great entertaining platform, has got few profound benefits on the mind and body. And we are all gathered here this evening to explore those connections and go through those journeys and experiences. I would like to invite Paul Abraham, the president of the Hinduja Foundation, to welcome us all this evening.
Good evening. This is an absolute delight and pleasure. I'm honored on behalf of the Hinduja Foundation to be welcoming you all, and thank you for being here to listen and participate in an event which connects music, the mind, and the various conditions that we as humans experience during our life. There are serious practitioners who will share the evening with us: Satya Hinduja, Sunita Bhuyan, Dr. Pravat Mandal, Dr. Kashyap Patel, Ninian Perry, and Dr. Anjali Prakash, who will all take us through various situations in which music and the profound effect that it has in improving and addressing some very fundamental conditions in us as humans. So it is music, science, and the curative power of music that we will see and experience today. I wish you again a wonderful evening of listening and seeing this deep linkage between music and the mind. Thank you once again, and look forward to spending the evening with you in deep listening.
Thank you, Paul, for that warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have joined us, we are streaming this on the Facebook page of Hinduja Foundation, the YouTube channel of the Hinduja Group, and the Tarang television network of the Hinduja Group. As you know, the concept of Healing Notes was conceived as to commemorate the World Music Day. And Hinduja Foundation, in association with another path-breaking institute, the National Brain Research Center, put together Healing Notes for all of us this evening. How can an evening about exploring music not start with a deep musical experience? For that, we have for you, ladies and gentlemen, Satya Hinduja, who shall present to us an experience, a journey, a mindful step towards listening, music, and sound. Satya Hinduja is a composer, sound artist, and producer, working with a range of musical instruments, voice, field recordings, and alternate tunings for spatial sound environments. Satya's artistic practice embodies the synthesis of multiple trajectories, scoring for films and mixed media installations and production, remixing and DJing as Sound Underground. Isn't that interesting? It was during this journey that she discovered the interconnectivity between neuro-linguistic programming, quantum theory, and Vedic philosophy. This path has evolved into her current project as founder of the Alchemic Sound Environment, ASE, a multi-sensory, deep listening experience designed to invoke states of reflection, receptivity, and exchange. What a beautiful way to explore the concept of music and sound. I'd now like to request Satya Hinduja to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're in a peaceful place, in a quiet place. Do use your headphones, because we don't want you to miss out on the best effects that this experience can give you. Over to Satya Hinduja.
Welcome to the alchemic sonic environment. Let's begin by finding a comfortable seat in a completely silent environment. Please turn off your cell phones and get ready for a short, deep listening experience. Let's begin by gently closing our eyes and taking a long, deep breath in. Hold your breath and release with a slow breath out. Take another long breath in to a count of 4. Hold your breath and a slow breath out. For last and final breath, take a long breath in. Hold your breath. And as you breathe out, I'd like for you to make a sound, releasing any tension in your body and mind, letting go of anything that you've been holding in this present moment, and bringing your breath back to your natural rhythm. Let's now begin to bring your attention to the sound of your current environment. What does it feel like? What is its texture? Begin by bringing awareness to the sound within the left field of your ear. Noticing there could be the sound of a bird, of a fan, of traffic. What is the proximity and distance of these sounds? Just bring awareness. Now slowly track your focus and bring your attention to noticing the sound to the right side of your ear. And just paying attention to the difference. Now bring your palms to place within your heart and your belly and take a long breath in. Noticing the rhythm of your breath and feeling the sound of the space in front of you and behind you. Also witness and feel the vibration quality, the vibrational quality of that which you are currently seated on. And try and create a frame of your body within this sonic field. Just notice the difference between when we began to where we are at now. And whenever you're ready, you can gently, taking your time, slowly open your eyes. As we continue our process of deep listening from the auditory now to the visual, I will be sharing a short alchemic sonic environment film called Union. Just continue to focus on your breath and allow for the colors, the textures, and forms to unveil as you continue to focus on listening and experience the silence within. I hope this short experience has expressed the intention of union within your mind and body. And I'd like to end by sharing with you our vision of alchemic sonic environment. Alchemic sonic environment holds a macro vision of reimagining human potential and planetary health, where we believe deep listening should be at the foundation of building new systems of exchange within our current structures of education, healthcare, technologies, policies, economics, and individual and collective global families. I believe if we meticulously begin to integrate silence, natural and structured sound that we call music in all its multiple forms, merging ancient wisdom and emerging scientific research and technologies that allow for a perfect balance of energy, frequency, and vibration within our autonomic nervous system, it has the potential to inform the future of medicine. The careful combination of light, sound, ultrasound, vibroacoustics, brain entrainment, and our naturally beautiful God-given environment has been shown to relieve pain, fatigue, depression, anxiety, regulate blood pressure, and even create and perform non-invasive brain surgery using purely sound waves. We live in hyperstimulated times, and we're experiencing the biggest shift in human history that is giving us extreme amounts of grief and trauma that will sustain for a long time to come. If we begin now to focus on deep listening and systemic building and bring our attention to our inner worlds, we can take a step towards alleviating pain, conflict, and healing ourselves and our planet. It gives me immense pleasure to witness the vision of alchemic sonic environment already taking shape with the partnership of Hinduja Foundation and Sunita Bhuyan and the National Brain Research Center, exploring the relationship of brain and music, also advancing the vision of my uncle, S.P. Hinduja. Thank you, Dr. Patel, Dr. Mandal, Ninian Perry, and Dr. Prakash for all your incredible work. I'm looking forward to learning all your lessons, and please stick around for this journey, deeply listen and imbibe their messages to integrate it into your lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya. Thank you for transporting us into the realms of silence, the oft said sounds of silence. Thank you for that enthralling presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, as all of you know, Healing Notes is being curated by the Hinduja Foundation in association with the National Brain Research Center. Hence, I would now like to invite Dr. Prabhat Mandal, the director of the National Brain Research Center, to be with us this evening and share his insights on the research methodologies that the Brain Research Center is trying to get onto the table with connections between sound and the brain. Before that, let me read out to you Dr. Mandal's bio, which is a very, very long bio in front of me, but I'm going to read out the highlights. Dr. Prabhat Mandal is director of the National Brain Research Center in Manesar, and they share the same wall at the NSG Commandos, and they used to do the mind mapping of the commandos also, and that's where we met for the first time. He's a Tata Innovation Fellow with the Ministry of Science and Technology of Government of India. He has been the professor at the National Brain Research Center for many years. He's the Honorary Professorial Fellow of the Florey Institute of Neuroscience and Mental Health, Melbourne, Australia currently. He has previously worked as Professor Adjunct Department of Radiology and Radiological Science at Johns Hopkins Medicine Center, Baltimore, USA. He has been the Honorary Professor of the Department of Electrical Engineering, IIT Roorkee, India, Assistant Professor of the Department of Psychiatry, and that's where the connection between mental well-being and his interest with the impact of sound comes from University of Pittsburgh Medical School, USA, and a postdoctoral fellow from the University of California, Davis, USA. And of course, he has graduated from our very own Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, Chennai. Well, his area of interest has been effect of sound on Alzheimer's, and currently he's very passionate about using sound and music for better mental health or cognitive preservation, like they may say. So without much ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Prabhat Mandal into our program this evening. Over to Dr. Mandal.
Good evening, myself Professor Prabhat K. Mandal, Director in charge of National Brain Research Center. It's a very much pleasing to talk about on a great program hosted by the Hinduja Foundation and in partnership with National Brain Research Center, effect of music on the brain. And it is a core theme, one of the core theme for our institute. You know, before coming into the topic, you have to tell the brain is a machine which is actually generating millions of signal. It is analyzed, is passing the signal from one end to another end and make us active. But during this process, there are signals are coming from different angles. So this huge amount of chaos or entropy is generated in the brain. And that actually brain has a mechanism to reduce this kind of chaotic behavior and smooth function is possible. Oxidative stress is an outcome because of the different complicated functioning. Now our research at cutting edge research and National Brain Research are coming into exactly on the point. We have understood how this oxidative stress actually affect our daily living and what part of the brain is active, how it is not a buzzword, it is actually quantifiable, and how you see this one correlated with the functioning of the person. So these functioning of the person come in many ways. Now one thing is the cognition, another thing is their high-end activities like ADHD kids. Then we have another schizophrenia that or psychosis patient with a heavy amount of psychosis. So these are actually playing different scenarios. Now how this music is going to affect it. Music is nothing but a great efforts to keep this brain in a different chaotic nodes to be in a systematic, organized manner. In this process, research has been shown that huge amount of the music effect has actually increased the production of glutathione. I just saw a Brazilian study. We do not have a published study from here that how it is actually affecting and quantifiable, but we have a means to find it out. A person exposed to the intrinsic music therapy called MT, and then what has exactly happened to this person by imaging studies as well as the neuropsychological testing studies. So you can see, you find the impact of this on the glutathione level. You also see the behavioral changes. You see this previous activities of the person and what he is doing right now. So in this sense, there is also, I want to tell you, functional MRI studies. That means you do these different changes in your brain, you think certain portion of your brain actually work and different nodes are actually become active, and you can see the messages smoothly without any hindrances passing through. You are happy, things are going in the right direction. Functional MRI study on a facial expression of different type, anger, happiness, sad. It has been shown that these effect actually having brain's functional, there are not different nodes actually opens up when you are happy, you are smiling. So the music coming into the picture, when you are under the influence of good soothing music, it could be Asamiya music, it could be Bengali music, it could be Gujarati music, North Indian, South Indian, anywhere. We have a huge, rich culture that of music. This music can impinge upon. There is in Western countries where I work in University of Pittsburgh Medical School, there is a extensive session of music with a cognitive problems. And we see that it has a positive effect. Same thing Why not? Indian musics are from different states are so versatile, and musicians like Miss Sunita, there are so many artists like this. They can mesmerize our brain, and Hinduja Foundation is the right platform, and National Brain Research Center can shake hand with them and to promote this good soothness effect. And we have a technology in place so that we can measure it. We don't want to say that because of music it is feeling good. No, it's quantifiable, and behavioral study is doable, visible for the patient or the family member. So the National Brain Research Center is not far away from Delhi. It is 30 kilometers away. So this is a great center. We are having a state-of-the-art imaging machine. We actually have a technology processing of the brain signal. All are done in under one roof. So this is a great opportunity to be partnered with such a great organization like Hinduja Foundation. So I am sure that for this discussion will stimulate many more good things to come. And I would like to say, if somebody was asking me that your research all this thing, music and yoga can take your brain all the stress out and make you to perform more, to produce more, and have a healthy life, no matter what is your age. You are 60 years, 90 years, doesn't matter. So this is the mantra I would like to say.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Mondal, for this insightful sharing of your thoughts and taking us through what you think happens inside the brain, inside the cells of the brain as one responds to sound and an external stimulus like music. Thank you for that. And like Dr. Mondal mentioned, the NBRC is located in the picturesque complex in Manesar, 30 kilometers from Delhi. And they are very soon looking at starting, an in-depth project on music, the various ragas, the various kinds of time theories that the Indian classical music follows, and the kind of impact it can have on the mind and body. Well, when we talk about how music impacts the brain, its cells, and makes it healthier, can we look at how music can help people who are in pain, people who are recuperating, patients who have gone through intense and very hard treatments, for example, like chemotherapy, or have gone through cancer? For that, ladies and gentlemen, we have with you an expert in the subject, Dr. Kashyap Patel, who is going to join us from the USA in conversation with Paul Abraham on how music or sound can be used for recuperation, especially for cancer patients. Before they start the conversation, let me introduce you to both Paul and Dr. Patel. Paul, as I mentioned, is the president of the Hinduja Foundation, and he was the chief operating officer of IndusInd Bank, with an illustrious career of 38 years in banking operations, strategy, and restructuring behind him. And prior to that, he was the managing director of the ABN AMRO Bank. Paul wears many hats. He is a connoisseur of the arts, a wildlife conservationist, and he's also the founder of Sarmaya Museum, which has become a movement synergizing the young and old towards awareness, sensitivity, and understanding of all that's cultural heritage, tradition of India and countries outside of India. So that's Paul Abraham. And Dr. Kashyap Patel is the founder and CEO of the Carolina Blood and Cancer Care Associates. Dr. Patel is a full-time practicing medical oncologist, board certified in hematology, oncology, and internal medicine. And Paul's going to take you through his in-depth profile when they talk together. But I met Dr. Kashyap Patel during the launch of his book, Between Life and Death. And it's such a pleasure to have Dr. Kashyap with us this evening. So over to Paul to lead the conversation with Dr. Kashyap Patel.
So thank you, Sunita, for that lovely introduction to the session. And welcome, Dr. Kashyap, to this evening of conversation around healing notes. We're glad to have you here. To introduce Dr. Kashyap, Dr. Kashyap is by profession an oncologist. Of course, he has other interests, but he is right now head and founder and CEO of the Carolina Blood and Cancer Care Associates. He is also president of the Oncology Alliance. And most importantly, Dr. Kashyap Patel has authored a book called Between Life and Death, which has been widely acclaimed and very well received. Now, today we are going to try and explore, some of the work that Dr. Kashyap has done. It's very interesting, and it literally is a key to the dialogue that we are trying to understand and deal with in this whole area of mental health, the various scenarios, and how do we mitigate some of that through a variety of means and techniques. So welcome, Dr. Kashyap. Glad once again to have you here.
Thank you very much, Paul, for asking me to join on this wonderful evening of the healing journey. I also want to thank Sunita ji for inviting me not only on this dialogue, but also for playing beautiful music during my virtual book launch in last November. And I also want to thank Hinduja Foundation as well, Shaheen, for coordinating all these complex events during the COVID-19 pandemic where life does not have to stop. So by the way of my interest, I do feel honored to be part of the team because as an oncologist living in 3 different countries or even continents, having practiced in India, Europe, and America, I've come to realize one thing, that we've taken a reductionist approach of human being. We don't look at there's a live human being behind the disease. We say she's a breast cancer patient. No, she's a human being with abnormality in the breast or a lung or a colon. And clearly what ends up in happening is we only keep focused on the tissue of the body and we forget the emotions, we forget the innate power of feeling. I've learned that we as a human being are an ecosystem of almost 200 plus trillion cells, and each cell is in itself a microintelligence. So there are so many innate healing power that do not have to be treated with medicine. And music is one of those beautiful kind of intervention that we've forgotten the art, we've forgotten the art and healing power of the music. With that, I've also learned one more thing about my book, Between Life and Death, is that every day I myself walk against that horizon of death. How can I make most, using every possible avenue to heal myself, which is spiritual practice, which is music, which is, meditation, yoga. So I'm a big believer in all the complementary intervention that help. And we are going to do some research projects on the healing power of music using structured assets like neurocognitive functions, biomarkers, as well as the genomic map. So I'll pause here and kind of give it back to you, Paul, to see how we want to kind of have this conversation to make it most enlightening and enchanting conversation here.
Thanks for that. That was a lovely summary. In your book, you talk of, many intimate experiences with patients who are terminally ill. So just for the audience's benefit, can you kind of summarize what is the mental condition or state we are dealing with when you are talking about these, patients?
It's actually, Paul, very interesting. I've been very close to my patients when they're physically leaving this world. And to my almost amusement and surprise, what I could see that patients were usually ready to leave. They were wanting to hear from the family that it's okay to go. There are times that patients were waiting to just for me to go and touch them and whisper in their ear. So I always encourage patients and their loved ones to keep playing beautiful music in their home. Again, it's a sense of liberation. It's a sense of release from this physical body. And wherever we move into next level of life, it's all different. But at the same time, when that moment is very close, when patients are about to die, I've seen a kind of complete sense of peace when they're at their own home, when they're surrounded by their own loved ones. And whatever faith you believe in, whatever faith you grew up with, if they were playing their spiritual kind of tone, they've always had a wonderful sense of almost like nirvana or a moksha. So I've seen this as more of a liberating experience than more of a torture. Now, if you die in a hospital, it's a different story because there are all kind of buzzes going on, the lights and flashing lights as well as the alarms going on. So dying in a hospital is not the best way, and that's what I've described in my book Between Life and Death. Is there's a different way of living this world. There's more accepting way of living this world because all of us on this discussion are all going to leave this world one day. How can we make most between time we are born and time that we leave this world?
So, Doctor, just to again try and delve into this a little deeper, I mean, there is a state of heightened anxiety, heightened fear, a worry about, the mortality just catching up so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, while we rationally think about it and we know that one day everyone has to go, when it faces us, it's one of those impossible things to accept and deal with. So scientifically, what are we talking about when some of these interventions happen? Are we talking about certain chemical changes that do happen that create a greater sense of acceptance? Or is it a little more than that?
Actually, it's a great question. So what I've seen is that the coming back to cancer-related anxiety and depression is highly unmet need in modern science. We are recognizing more and more how the chemicals play complex interplay. If you are distressed, if you're anxious, your neurons convey signals into your epigenetics and they causes changes into your genome which are contrary to what we want. So they are like anti-healing, they're more stressful, they're more pro-inflammatory. But if you are able to somehow figure out a way that rhymes with patients' innate homeostasis, that right with patients' own innate healing power, and that's where I think music has a phenomenal role to play. Music plays a wonderful stimulation into the parts of the brain, depending on what music are you listening to. Again, I think if you're listening to rap music, that's not what you want because it actually triggers anxiety, it triggers stress. But if you're playing soft instrumental music, flute, violin, sitar, all of those musical tones, the tones actually trigger areas of the auditory reception in the brain, and these neurons will send signals which will reduce the heart rate. They will reduce anxiety, they will reduce blood pressure. And because of this incredible healing power of music, at our hospital, our day hospital, we have a person who comes and plays live music every Thursday to calm our patients down when they get chemotherapy. I think 30 plus cancer centers in the US offer the music therapy some way or the other in different setup. And there are about almost 55 plus research papers that have shown both the psychological changes, the physiological changes, all related to music. So music does stimulate parts of the brain that will change the chemical balance inside the body to bring more of the healing, more of the calming, more of the soothing effect. And I'm sure at some stage the research will come out that it may somehow or the other add to longevity as well. We are too far from that, but a day would come out that it would become a part of the routinely accepted treatment pattern in cancer patients.
So that's absolutely fascinating because, in the earlier Never Alone summit that we had a few weeks ago, we actually brought together a bunch of different perspectives. We had people who were spiritual leaders. We had people of science. We had people who were doctors. And we had people who were connected with holistic lifestyles. And, it was kind of an interplay of all of this that seemed to work for us in our mental well-being. Now, for somebody like yourself, who is a trained practitioner doctor, how did this eureka moment happen for you to experiment with, say, music as a therapy area?
My personal experience has been, Paul, that when I went and touched my patients when they were dying, I could physically observe the changes on their face and talking softly, gently into their ear. So I saw that maybe there may be something more to this sensation. And I realized that the last senses to leave our body is the auditory and touch sensation. So I started researching on that. And there's a whole faculty of science called the American Board of Holistic and Integrative Medicine. In fact, I took that certificate and training, and we had to explore each and every aspect of what we call non-pharmacological intervention, which is complementary intervention. And I learned that music had a huge role to play. And a friend of mine, his son plays wonderful string music. So I said, would you be kind to come and start playing music into my clinic? So he said, well, I'll be happy to do that. And the patient's interaction and patient's reaction actually continued me to explore more and more. So now I'm designing a clinical trial to see the impact of music on patient symptoms, particularly distress, anxiety, as well as chemotherapy associated nausea and all of those aspects.
So, doctor, you actually just alluded to it a few seconds ago that someday, apart from just the mitigation and the easing of the pain and anxiety, some of these alternate techniques can actually move further down the line and possibly be part of a cocktail for a cure?
Coming back to what we were just discussing, Paul, about a day will come when science will show that the non-medicinal intervention like music therapy, spirituality, yoga, meditation, they all will contribute to the longevity as well as improving the outcome of the disease. And Alice Apple, one of the scientists from California, got a Nobel Prize for her work showing that mindfulness-based meditation can actually increase the telomeres length. And telomeres are actually important for longevity. They fix the defect in the human genome. So a time will come again as we understand more and more about connection between the neurons, epigenetics, and the genome, that we can prove that these modalities like music, spirituality, prayers, as well as the meditation are not just causing healing feeling. They are actually translating the healing feeling into possible improved outcome as well.
So that's actually such a hopeful note to end at, because what we are discussing is music and its beneficial impact on some rather extreme conditions, mental conditions. So I would imagine that it's most definitely something that will help in many of the spectrum of conditions which may not be that intensive. For example, we have a large intervention with the children and in education, and we find that in India, in various parts, of course, the numbers are different, but as much as 10 to 12% of the population that we deal with in our programs at Hinduja Foundation are kids with different kind of neurodiversity. A lot of them are having issues of attention, some are having issues of social anxiety and things like that. So is it recommended, therefore, that some of this becomes very much part of our curriculum and we review some of our education processes at a very basic level?
It will become part of the regular offering. I think give us about 10 more years. So virtually every cancer institute in America right now incorporates music therapy as a part of standard treatment for patients, as more like under the complementary and integrative medicine. There's a board that actually trains physicians the impact of the holistic and integrative intervention as well. So maybe a decade from now, Paul, that will be offered as a routine intervention, including diseases like Alzheimer's, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, cancer-associated depression, and may become the mainstream intervention for, in addition to, of course, modern medicine.
That's so wonderful to hear. And as part of our advocacy initiatives, these are the kind of messages we'd love for regulators, policymakers to listen to. The the shift that is necessary to make this all a more integrated, more holistic approach to mental well-being. So on that very note, Dr. Kashyap Patel, thanks for being with us. And your book is recommended reading for all. And I would urge everyone to get hold of that book. We are all, people who have different states of fragility in our mind. And it's useful to understand this perspective of what music can do in terms of intervening to reduce stress and help us deal with sometimes not so extreme, but sometimes rather extreme situations. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
For having us. Thank you. And over to you, Sunita.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kashyap Patel, for joining us. And thank you, Paul, for leading this very, very critical and informative conversation. So heartening to know that people in pain can regenerate their damaged cells in the body with the impact of sound and music. That would be such a better and beautiful world. We hope that the findings come out sooner than the 10 years, Dr. Patel. And once again, thank you so much. So, well, we've been discussing about music all evening and about sound, and being an artist myself, it's quite, it's challenging for me not to actually get my weapon of choice out into the program and play a bit of music for you. But before that, let me take you through a quick understanding of how music, the role that music has when a listener responds to it. How does a listener respond to it? We've talked about brain and its impact and all the technical and scientific processes. So when we hear a piece of music, as a layman, as any human being, our mind responds to it in two ways. We can just hear it and just move on. There's so many sounds and noises here in the environment. Or we wait and listen to it intently, and our process of hearing changes or graduates and evolves to listening. And that is when it's almost like the brain sending signals to different parts of the body and saying us, hey, I think we like what we're hearing. Why don't we calm down? And that's when the effects of the feel-good hormones start happening in the body and gets produced in the body. And that is the context of music therapy. I suppose as a listener and as a music practitioner, well, there are various kinds of music that one relates to depending on their choices, their exposure, the genres that they've listened to whilst growing up. Or there's one genre that artists love to explore, and that is that genre which people have not heard. A piece of music that you haven't heard before, you don't know the genre, but yet you like to respond to it. That's the powerful and attractive melodies that has the strongest impact on the mind when you hear a piece for the very first time and yet respond to it and feel good about it. So, well, to cut a long story short, let me take you to my home studio, which is just the other room from where I'm streaming this. And let me do a short presentation on various kinds of music during different times of the day, the time theory of music. And of course, play a bit of my weapon of choice, the violin, for you. We earlier talked about how the listener responds to music and how it impacts his mind and body. The Indian classical music system has got this concept called the time theory of music. There are morning ragas, early morning ragas, mid-morning ragas, afternoon ragas, and evening ragas. Morning ragas typically help us to start off with the metabolism of the body, and there are certain ragas that help us recuperate from diseases like arthritis. Then there are mid-morning ragas like Raga Bilaval, There are afternoon ragas like Bimpalashi, which is used extensively in rehabilitation clinics and to treat depression. And of course, all of us can use it at 3 o'clock, between 3 to 5:36 in the evening, to help us get back into action after a long and intense morning, or a heavy Indian lunch for that matter. And then early evening ragas help us relax, and there are certain ragas which can be played late night, which induces sleep. How are ragas created, and why do we keep referring to ragas when we talk about theory and text of music? Let's take a very simple morning rag. Rag Bilawal. Straight notes, a foundation rag of our Indian classical course. And the notes go like this. Sa re ga pa ma ga re ga pa ma ga ma re sa re sa. Sa ni da ni sa re sa ni da ni da pa ga pa da ni sa re sa. Sa re ga pa ma ga re ga pa ma ga ma re sa re sa. If these notes were given to a classical maestro, he or she would create a Rag Bilawal like I just sang out. I'm not a singer, but I'm singing to communicate the concept of the notes with you. What if these same 7 notes were given to a music director in Bollywood? Say Shantanu Moitra, one of my favorite directors. Let's see if you can guess this song. Sa re ga pa ma ga re ga pa ma ga sa pa ma re ma ga. Sa pa ma re ga ma ga sa ni sa re ga ma ga sa ni sa sa. Jiya dole hole hole kyun ye dole janu that was a Bollywood song created with a lot of love and melody and thought. Even a Mozart piece would have these 7 notes. Any music, a Hollywood piece, a jazz piece, and you would have heard this Mozart piece. However, because I'm not trained in Mozart, I would sing this out or play them in mind in notes. Sa ni sa re ga pa ma ga re sa ni sa re ga pa ma ga re sa re ga pa ma da pa ma ga re ma ga re sa re sa. that was Mozart and Rag Bilawal with the same combination of the notes. And that's why they say, if you really want to teach creativity, let's teach a child or even a young adult music. Well, I'm back on my seat and would like to take you on with the next session of this evening, the next theme, the next thought behind using music as an impact on the mind and body. We have with us a very special guest this time, and all the way from Glasgow in Scotland. Ninian Perry is the director of the Paragon Ensemble. He himself is a qualified double bass player, that long, huge instrument, even bigger than the cello, of the violin family, of course, and that's what is the closeness that I have with him. He plays the double bass. And Ninian runs a very unique organization. They use music for the development and rehabilitation of children and adults with disability. When I heard about Paragon, I wasn't sure how they did their interventions, how they could use instruments that are so difficult for even mainstream people to be able to pick up and play. How would they create those instruments, and how would they make it accessible for the children and adults that they work with? But lo and behold, when I saw him and his team of special educators, his musicians, dancers, do what they did with this wonderful, varied, peppy group of young children and adults, it was just completely overwhelming. Ninian lives in Glasgow, and his team of music as well as special educators do a variety of interventions, which we hope we can experience once Ninian joins us all the way from Glasgow. Paragon is under the Creative Scotland umbrella, which works on music for people with disability. Over to Ninian.
Hello, and thank you so much, Sunita. I'm really thrilled to be here today. It's such an important event and such a great title, Healing Notes, which discusses a very important aspect of our world today, mental health, and how music can be a great healer. My thanks and hats off to the Hinduja Foundation for their leadership in bringing us all together for this event on World Music Day. And I'm really honoured to be here among such a group of distinguished and eminent speakers. So I'm creative director of Paragon Music, and Paragon Music is an arts company based here in Scotland in the UK, and we bring together people to create and perform music for better health and well-being. And I'm going to show you 3 clips today which show the way that we use music as a tool to connect people and raise their self-esteem. Raising their self-esteem, that's how they estimate their own personal self-worth and how it can transform and raise their own goals and expectations. So the first clip shows you some of the group work we are doing here in the UK. And the second clip is of a performance we gave with the pupils at ADAPT in Mumbai. And the third clip is a really remarkable story of a young woman, Kirsty Brown, who suffered brain damage in her 20s while she was a student teacher, and how music helped her to heal and restore her aspiration and her life's journey. So here we are. We'll play the clips to you just now. Enjoy. We reach out to people who have additional support needs, who are isolated and facing barriers and neglect by society. Many face severe mental health issues. Some have acquired disabilities due to brain injuries or illnesses, and others are diagnosed with a range of lifelong medical conditions, including physical, sensory, and cognitive conditions, from mild to very complex. Paragon uses the arts, specifically music and dance, as a tool to help invigorate people's health and well-being. We run programs for young people and adults who want to connect with other people, and they want to know that the right care, support, and that communication aids are in place to help them to be able to participate. Paragon practitioners are musicians and dancers who are trained in supporting people who have additional support needs, and we have a team of around 30 artists that work here in the UK, in Scotland, in Europe, and also in India. We regularly visit our friends at ADAPT, Able, Disabled, All People Together, based in Mumbai, where we run creative music making with the pupils to support their musical education and the personal development of each child. The final performance is a big occasion for each participant to shine in front of their friends and families, and for them to be a part of a grand occasion where they themselves are the main act.
I played the piano since I was 6 years old. I never realised how much I'd missed it till I had my bleed. I came home the first time after hospital and I thought to myself, I can't play the piano now. That's gone to me. I was then wanting to get volunteer opportunities to get myself back into the workplace, and my mum's friend knew about Paragon, so she said that I would be a perfect fit. I felt at home the minute I walked in. I was immediately walked over to Grace, and she had a participant on the piano, and I said, I can't do that. I mean, I can't do both hands at the moment. But she says, no, you can still play the piano. So I sat down with the participant and just basically jammed for the whole session, and it was just such an eye-opener that I could still participate in music, which I love so much. So that was the start of my journey.
When we first came in, Kirsty seemed quite nervous and was a bit unsure about even just playing the piano, and actually very quickly after we started, it was clear that she just loved it so much and she has such a passion for playing. And I remember kind of leaving the session as well feeling so excited for her, and also just so excited that we were going to be working together.
I've been about a year and a half into Horizons, and that's kind of building up my confidence with playing with one hand and kind of doing the blues scales and stuff, but it's also helped me to realise my kind of love for practitioner work. I went on the practitioner training at the start of this year.
Now Kirsty and I work together as practitioners. I just feel so proud of her that she's kind of come from, you know, that first session where she maybe wasn't that confident, but actually to now where she's helping lead workshops and taking sessions on her own, and she's loving it. And it's just really, really nice for me to be able to take a step back now and just be her colleague and work alongside her, which is just, it's a privilege because she's just so great.
I didn't realise how much I needed music in my life until this happened, obviously, and how much I relied on it. It's just an essential part of my life.
So there you are, a remarkable story indeed. Thank you very much indeed for watching. And thank you very much again, Sunita, for inviting me along today. I'm looking forward to seeing you, I hope, Sunita, here in Scotland. And everybody, please contact us. We'd love to hear from you. This is such an important area of work that's going on in the world today. And I'm really indebted and thank the Hinduja Foundation once again for being leaders to enable this event to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ninian, for showing us the beautiful engagements, the way in which you conduct your workshops. And of course, Kirsty's story is so inspiring. So that was Ninian Perry, the director, the creative director of the Paragon Ensemble, which works in the field of music and its impact, development, and progress for people with disability. We are coming towards the end of our program, but we have a very, very relevant session coming up with an expert in the field, an educationist, who shall take us through how music, sound, and engagement of an artistic platform encourages children to think better and how it enables early learning. We have with us Dr. Anjali Prakash, the chairperson and founder of Learning Links Foundation. And it's a pleasure to announce that Learning Links Foundation works closely with the Hinduja Foundation for one of their beautiful projects, Road to School. Dr. Anjali Prakash is the chairperson of Learning Links Foundation, a not-for-profit dedicated to enriching lives through learning, of course. She has over 30 years of experience as a techno-pedagogue, which includes pioneering technology-integrated education in India. I'm so happy that someone who swears on technology also uses the softer mediums like music. She's passionate about girls and women getting an equal opportunity to achieve their potential and strives to promote gender equality. Well recognized for her work, Dr. Anjali is the recipient of several awards that pay respect to her role as a woman leader, striving for excellence in education. She holds positions of responsibility in academic, government, non-government, and corporate bodies, committees to direct participation, membership, or as a consultant. Learning Links has been very happy to be working with Hinduja Foundation and the group of companies to implement Road to School, which I mentioned earlier, a holistic development program for students from underserved communities with over 1,000 communities that they impact and 88,000 children benefiting from the program, which is regarded more as a movement in social and inclusive development. Every child has a right to education and enrichment. I hope all these 88,000 children do a lot of music and dance as they go along their educational journeys. So over to Dr. Anjali Prakash. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we have Dr. Anjali Prakash join us, please?
Who wants to be a cuckoo? Who wants to be a cuckoo? Ooh, 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 ooh,
A warm hello to everyone. You just saw the video from one of our flagship education programs that focuses on transforming learning with innovative pedagogy. This helps us make learning joyful for children, but more importantly, it's learning that lasts. Now that we all know the sound a cuckoo makes, let me tell you more about these children you saw hopping, skipping, and singing. When I met them a year or two ago on a school visit, they were being taught sounds and having the time of their life singing while learning. There was so much joy in their participation and they were so eager to know more. The little boy Aman, whom you saw, and the two girls, Neha and Anita, are a part of the remedial learning program we implement across the country to narrow learning gaps. Interestingly, as I talk to you today, they are no longer in the remedial group. They are attentive students with not just better scores, but also lots and lots of more friends. More importantly, they enjoy school and want to keep learning. What helped them reach there? I have one answer: the instructional approach. In this case, it's the use of music to build better learning experiences that aim at holistic development. Since the inception of Learning Links Foundation in 2002, we have been focusing on different ways to improve learning for children. With over 30 programs running across 21 states, we have tried and tested diverse approaches in varied locations and compared impact. The best practices drawn from our experiences are shared with larger influencer groups to guide policy reform and shape the future of education in the country. Based on the on-ground insights from our teams across programs and locations, the one thing that has emerged as a common success factor is the use of music to enhance learning. A music-enriched education approach supports not just cognitive and socio-emotional development, but also builds a child's confidence and self-esteem. It lends to freedom of self-expression, fuels creativity, and gives wings to a child's imagination. It certainly brought a huge positive change in Revati, a young and extremely shy child who comes from an economically disadvantaged background. I am told she was reluctant to participate in activities or interact with classmates. But wait, let me tell you more. Let me show you the Revati of today. The Revati we see today is confident and comfortable being in the spotlight. She is a beneficiary of our Road to School program, which among other initiatives uses music to enrich education. Music gave Revati an outlet to express herself freely, while also helping her learn subject-based concepts and build communication skills. Use of music in education for holistic development is an evidence-based approach that is effective across age groups and across geographies. There is also a lot of research that backs this conclusion. In fact, I remember reading an article which specifically mentioned music and movement as the first language of childhood. Let's go a bit further now. Those of us who are interested in the question, does music make us smarter, will find the answer that makes them happy. It's a yes. Many of the greatest minds had music in common, from Newton to Einstein to Galileo. The relevance of music in education has been appreciated by one of the greatest philosophers of all time, Plato, who says, "Music is a more potent instrument than any other for education." The use of this instrument by our teams proves his claim, and over 26,000 children have benefited. And today, I would like to conclude by shining the spotlight on these students. Here are the Road to School students shining and singing a Sanskrit hymn with music composed by Pandit Ravi Shankar.
Anjali, thank you, Dr. Anjali Prakash, for this wonderful insight into learning links and what you do with the children, and especially the song Swagatam, Shubha Swagatam. They say every end has a new beginning, and I hope that we can welcome these new insights about music and the impact on the brain, music with people with disability, music for recuperation, and especially music for early learning, the session that you took us through, and how it can impact children. Thank you so much for taking us through this journey. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come towards the end of the event this evening. But however, like I mentioned earlier, I would like to take you through another musical piece on the violin. However, I have this time with me accompanying. He was there last time also when I did the earlier piece, Ronajit on the piano. So the violin and piano. The violin is an Indian classical piece and the piano is a Western classical instrument. So we come together to play a piece for you. But before that, some special thanks to people who has made this possible for us today. So, well, Hinduja Foundation, Dr. Ashish Bonde, with whom we conceived this, Paul Abraham, the president, the team of Rajashri, Mecca, Deepa, and of course, Satya, Hinduja's wonderful presentation on the sound of silence. Thank you, team, for taking the time out to do and host this meaningful initiative. The National Brain Research Center, who have very gladly partnered with us to expand the horizon, to share their insights and talk about research around brain and its impact on the sound and body. Our esteemed speaker, Dr. Prabhat Mandal, Dr. Kashyap Patel, Ninian Perry from Glasgow, and our very own Dr. Anjali Prakash. Thank you so much. But all this would have been possible without our virtual production partners, Shaheen Jihani and the team of Stage Arts Live, the streaming platform Vouchpro. We've been working continuously for the last 1 week to get this program for you. So thanks to all of you who've watched us today on Facebook, on Tarang, on YouTube, and the Hinduja internal channel to encourage work and encourage our endeavor and initiative to make music a larger platform, more accessible, and for people to get the benefits of this medium not just for entertainment, but for healing, for recovery, for better development. So back to my home studio, and I would like to bid you goodbye and good night with a bit of music between the violin and the piano. It has been a wonderful evening listening to such amazing experts on how music can impact the mind and body. I'm very happy to be presenting before you a finale piece of music, which again reinforces the universal 7 notes. Like they say, love is universal, humanity is universal, music is universal too. And if we can use this medium to connect people, make them feel good about each other, connect cultures, share with people who need that smile on their faces, connect philosophies and civilizations, then we artists and the whole art fraternity feel very satisfied of what they do behind the scenes. So this piece is about coming together of 2 different styles of music. As you would have seen in my last 2 pieces, I have with me Ronojit Bhuiya on the piano. He's my son and we're locked down at home. Ronojit is a Western classical pianist, I'm an Indian classical violinist. However, the intent to come together has helped us do music together during the pandemic. Hence, it's about the will to create that synergy, and music teaches us this very profound lesson. So this piece is an Assamese folk piece fused with a Scottish reel, Assamese bihu. And the girl is saying that I can hear the chirping of the happy birds. Why can't spring continue and take us away from this disturbed state of mind? And then the same notes, because we talked about the 7 notes, breaks into a Scottish reel. However, I'm not wearing that attire where you can keep tapping your feet with your boots, because with the Scottish reel, the fiddler has the mic on his feet because he keeps on tapping his feet.